Hey guys, Sarthak here from Code to Create, and this is the second video in our Java lecture series. Today we're going to be extending on what we learned last time, and we're going to be covering variables and operators. So if you want to follow along, follow this open Google link to our presentation. So let's take a quick review from what we learned last video. So last video we learned that computer science is the use of manipulation in computers using code to accomplish tasks, and we're going to learn the Java programming language, which is one of the languages used to do this. We learned that one of the main aspects of Java is that it's object-oriented, meaning it consists of two main features which we'll be focusing on for now, which are classes and objects. We learned that classes are the blueprints for objects, and objects are instances and creations of a type of a class. We also learned how Java works, how we take the Java file that we write, which is what we type into our computer, it gets compiled into bytecode, which then gets read by the Java virtual machine to get executed to the computer. We also wrote our first Java program, which was our Hello World program. In these just couple lines of code, we actually accomplished many things that are vital to Java. We did some object-oriented programming, making a class Hello World, which an object can be created off of. We created our main method, a public static void main string args, which is what is automatically executed when you run the program. And we had our first statement in Java, which is this print statement, which prints out what's in these parentheses to the console. Within all this program, we have syntax such as the curly braces and the semicolon, style in our indentation and our blank lines. We also have keywords, which are the ones highlighted in purple: public, class, static void, and we also use libraries such as the system library for calling its print method. This video will be covering two more very vital features of Java, and those are variables and operators. So what are variables in Java? So if you've ever done any bit of algebraic math, you know what variables in math are. And variables in math are, here's the definition right here, they're characters that represent a number. Now, variables in Java are very similar, except that they don't have to store a number. They can store any sort of data. So variables are fields that are used to store any sorts of data, such as numbers, characters, strings, which are sequences of numbers, etc. So the thing about variables in Java, though, is that it's much more technical than making a variable in math. In variable in math, you can just say x equals 5 or something like that. In Java, there's a naming convention and special rules for declaration and initialization that you need to follow when creating a variable. So one thing that we stressed over the past is that Java is case sensitive, meaning that lowercase letters are compiled differently than uppercase letters. So the naming convention for a Java variable is that it starts with a lowercase letter and can contain numbers, letters, and underscores. The name should relate to a noun, and also if it's multiple words, each new word should start with an uppercase letter. Here's an example of a good variable name. So variable for Code to Create, we have, it's a noun, it starts with a lowercase letter, every new word's uppercase, we have underscores, numbers, and then we're going to get into what this int means in a second. So a variable type is the type of value that a variable can hold. A variable can hold a number, a character, a string, anything like that. However, we need to declare what it can hold, meaning that a variable isn't necessarily flexible in that a variable can hold either a number or a character. It can only hold one certain type, and that's called the variable type. Java has 8 primitive types, which are the most basic types of variables. The two ones we're going to be focusing on for now are the int and double types. Int stores whole number integers such as 5, 23, and negative 7, and double stores decimal numbers, so it can store 8.9, negative 2.6, and even irrational numbers like pi. So to declare a variable and to tell the Java compiler that it exists, what you do is you put the variable type, so for example we're going to use int, in the variable name. So we want to make a variable of type int so that can store whole number integers, and we want to name a variable, so we do int variable semicolon. Now when we type this into our code and we run this, the compiler is going to create a variable of type int, a variable of type int named variable that we can use at our disposal. But it's not useful if it doesn't hold anything, so we have to initialize the variable. We do this by a very simple statement. We say variable equals 5. And the equal sign, it might just look like we're saying that this equals 5, but the equal sign is a very powerful operator in Java, and it is the assignment operator. So what the equal sign does is that it assigns what is on the right of it to what's on the left of it. So when this statement is compiled and we compile variable equals 5, the assignment operator tells the compiler that 5 is going to be put into variable. So what we've done so far is we've created a variable type int so the compiler knows it exists. Now we set 5 into variable so that it has a value, and now a variable is at our disposal so we can use it however we wish. The same thing goes for double variables or variables of any other primitive type. You can also do both declaration and initialization in one step. What you can do is you put the type name, variable name, assignment operator, then the initial value. So it's kind of just joining these two statements together on the variable name. So int variable name equals initial value. So now go to your Hello World program from last lecture, and we're going to just play around a little bit with. Oops, didn't do that. We're just going to play around a little bit with variables. So let's make a new variable. So how do we make it? We're gonna make variable type first. Int. Let's name it. How about we name it for print? So we're gonna print this variable out. So now let's give an initial value. So we're gonna say for print equals 10. So we've told our compiler that for print is going to be a variable of type int. We've given it the value of 10. Now let's print for print out. So what happens is if we put the for print in these double quotes. Let's see, we're running it. And hold on. As you can see, it's not what we wanted because we enclosed for print in double quotes. This made it print out what's literally in the string, which are the characters for print. So that's what print out. If we want to print out the variable for print, we do it without the double quotes. So now the print statement is printing out, it's printing out the variable for print, which is directly in the parentheses. So what we now, just one more look at it, we have a variable type int, called for print, we set it equal to 10, and now we're printing that variable out, not the name of the variable itself, and what's printed out is 10. That's exactly what we want. Now, we're going to talk about something that goes hand in hand with variables, and that is operators. So, just like normal mathematics, Java has arithmetic operators that you can use to manipulate numbers, and they're very similar to what it is in standard math. They follow the order of operations, which is PEMDAS, parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. For those of you who don't know the order of operations, it basically is that each operation takes precedence over the one below it, except for multiplication and division, which are at the same level, and addition and subtraction, which are at the same level. So the symbols for the operators are very similar to what they are in common mathematics. Parentheses are parentheses. Exponents are carets, which they typically are in calculators. Multiplications are the little asterisk or star. Division is going to be the slash. Addition is the addition sign. And then subtraction is the subtraction sign or dash. So very simple stuff. Those are our standard arithmetic operators, and we can do a lot of cool stuff with that. So now, based on what we just learned about variables and arithmetic operators, I want you to pause the video and try to figure out what will be printed out by this code. So pause it and try to figure it out. Okay, I'm going to assume that you had a go in it by yourself, so now let's take a look at it. We have our int variable called var1, which equals 10. Now we create another variable called var2, which has the value of 6. Now what we're doing is we're taking the value of var1, which is 10, the value of var2, which is 6, multiplying together, and the 6 times 10 is 60. And we're using the assignment operator, we're setting that value into var3. So now we have a var3, which equals 60. Now we print it out, and what's going to be printed out is obviously the value of var3, which is 60. So now we're going to do a little variable activity to practice what we just learned about variables and operators. So our task is to declare an int variable and give it an initial value, then declare another variable and make it equal to twice the value of the first variable, and then print the second variable. So not much, but it utilizes what we just learned. So let's go back to our hello world class. We can delete this print statement for now, and we'll just type in this main method. So the first thing we do is create a int variable with an initial value. So type int name, we can name it first, and let's give it initial value of, say, 15. Now what we want to do is we want to make a second variable and make it equal to the first variable times 2. So another variable of type int, name it second, and we're going to set it equal to first times 2. So how this works is just like a variable in standard mathematics. When you set a variable equal to a value, every time you reference that variable, like we're referencing first here, we're indirectly referencing that value. So by putting first here, we're indirectly referencing the value 15, and we print out second. It should print out 15 times 2, which is 30. So let's print out second, our print command again, system.out.println, variable name second, that's what we're printing out. We're going to run it, and the console will be printed 30. So what we covered today are two very crucial features of Java. Variables is a very powerful aspect that allows coding to be much simpler and easier to implement. So, for example, a key aspect about variables is that it makes code much easier to replace. So, for example, if we were to use this variable first throughout our program to represent the number 15, it's much easier to change the value rather than having to change 15 each time. So, for example, if we are referencing first throughout the program and we need to change first from 15 or 20, all we have to do is change the value here, and now from now on to the program, the first will be identified as 20. So when we run this, it'll equal 40. However, if we were to not do this and we actually wrote 15 everywhere in the program, we would actually have to go through the entire program and find every instance of 15 and replace it with 20, which can be a huge hassle when dealing with many lines of code. So that's what the main advantage of using variables is, that it's very reusable and easy to change. We also covered operators, which are a crucial part of being able to manipulate things, such, especially numbers, to allow calculations in your code. So that's it for today. Next time we'll be covering booleans and logic statements. And as always, you can practice coding on our website, where we have links to exercises at code2create.org. The link will be in the description, and there's also a link to our Twitter account in the description if you want to keep updated with everything we're doing. As always, we love constructive feedback, so please feel free to comment and subscribe if you'd like to stay tuned for our videos.